Today is the most difficult conversation out of all 5 of these workshops. We're talking about your mind. We're talking about the human brain. Every one of us is unique. Every one of us has unique life experiences. Every one of us has different belief systems, different thought processes that govern our behaviors, that govern the way we see the world. So we're going to take a somewhat deep and then go right back up to shallow dive into some things you can do to gain control or regain control of your mindset during times in your life when things seem out of your control. And the first thing I have to show you is going in line with the theme of the 5 essentials is that all 5 of these essentials are necessary for your body to function right. But ultimately, all 5 of these essentials impact the brain and the way the brain communicates to your body. So the brain is what's processing every event that happens to you in your life. Your brain is what's creating patterns. The best example is when you learn to ride a bike, you store that information as these neural networks, and you can press play on them when necessary, and the brain just executes. So a great example is a lot of you drive so often, you forget you're driving and you end up where you're going. You don't have to think about it. It doesn't require conscious effort to have your hands on the steering wheel, to remember which side is the brake, which side is the gas. Your brain has created a neural network, a memory of how to drive, and it just executes it. And the same is true for most of your behaviors in your life. Waking up in the morning, getting ready, how you communicate with your spouse, how you communicate with your kids, how you talk to yourself. A lot of these are automatic neural networks that you've created, and it just happens. You're not actively in control of it. It's just happening. So the point of bringing this up is you have to identify what these things are in your life that are happening on autopilot, and they estimate upwards of 80% of your day is just automatic habits that you're not even intentionally choosing to do, but you're executing. So that means up to 80% of your day is automatic things that you're not choosing to do. And so a lot of you are in a situation where you're stressed out, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're lacking focus, your sleep cycle's interrupted. And this is because these 80% habits that you're running on autopilot are not serving you. So you need to identify them and remove them. This chart that I pulled up here is an example of what happens to the brain on a daily basis when your body is exposed to a stress. Now, stress, depending on your perception, can be a good or a bad thing. So in the analogy of weightlifting or exercising, if you exercise 24/7 every single day and never take a break, your body will shut down, get sick, and you will die. If you never, ever exercise, you never move, you never put a stressor on the body, you will never, ever get strong enough to live a full life. So the optimal amount of exercise is somewhere in the middle. And we're going to go in depth with this on the next webinar. But for today's purpose, exercise is a stress. And you need a little bit of stress and then a recovery in order to get stronger. Too much stress and no recovery, you get sick. Not enough stress and all recovery and sitting around is also detrimental to your health. And the same is true for any psychological stressor, any mental stressor, anything in your life that puts you out of what's called homeostasis. So homeostasis is this ideal balance that your body exists in, and it has to be a balance because it's constantly being pushed and pulled in either direction. So a stressor comes into your body, as you can see on here. Your brain perceives the stress, creates a response, and all of these responses are ultimately there to change your behavior. So we're designed as human beings, when we are stressed out, we go into sympathetic stress response, which is our nervous system preparing our body to deal with a threat. Then when we either run away from the threat or we fight and survive the threat, our body calms us back down and we return to a more homeostatic or balanced way of living. So the problem with all of us today is there is nothing that you can do most of the time to fight or run from the stresses you're dealing with. Your mortgage, your stress at your job, the pulling and pushing of your relationships every single day, the thoughts that in relationships you have with yourself every day. You can't escape these things. So they need to be identified, because if you leave them there, I want to point out, a stressor comes into the body and it forms, by the red arrow there, allostatic load, allostasis. So that's the body pushing to survive the stressor. And you can see as the gray arrow goes across there, if the stressor leads to adaptation, the load is released. The body did what it needed to do, and now you're done with it. If you're being chased by a tiger and you jump up in a tree, you're safe. You no longer need to stay in a stress response. But if you don't, if you continue and you don't get to that adaptation and that change, your body will remain in what's called allostatic load, which is a constant pressure and stress on you. It pushes your physiology, the way your heart works, the way your lungs work, the way your immune system works, into stress physiology, which is not ideal. Ideal physiology for healing is the opposite. It's rest, relax, digest. It's called parasympathetic. It's the brakes, where the stress response is the gas. Your body hits the gas to get you going. So the whole point of me bringing this up is a lot of you are hitting the gas all day, every day, from the minute you wake up to the minute you lay down in bed, to the thoughts you're thinking while you're trying to fall asleep. You're hitting the gas, hitting the gas, hitting the gas. No wonder your immune system gets affected. No wonder your secretory IgA is lower, as we're going to see in a second. No wonder that you get sick a few times a year. No wonder America is struggling with their immune function as a whole, because we can never get off of this load on us without the right strategies. So the number one thing you can leave this with is your brain tells your body what to do and how to behave using nerves and chemicals. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters. So this diagram is showing you, it's called the HPA axis. Your brain identifies a threat. It creates a cascade of signaling, and it releases down there in the corner, cortisol. Almost everybody's heard of cortisol. It's one of the number one stress hormones. And then over on the right, your catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine. And these chemicals float around in your body when you even think about a stressor. You can be sitting in a safe environment and think about a stressor, and it affects you. And then that signals from the brain down to the body, a whole cascade. And I don't want you to memorize this, and it's pointless for you to understand all of this, but what I want you to leave with is this. At the very top of this chart on the right is your brain. Your brain and your gut are connected in multiple ways, but the two that I'm looking at here is one is called the vagus nerve reflex. The vagus nerve comes out of the brainstem up here and makes contact with the gut. So when you perceive a stress, the brain talks to the vagus nerve, which then talks to the enteric, which means in the gut, nervous system, which then elicits a response on your actual tissues, your actual immunoglobulin A, which is down there fighting to keep you alive. So your thoughts, your perceptions, your fears, your mindset literally changes nerve communication down the vagus nerve to your gut, which is 80% of your immune system. Your gut is your coffee filter. It's what decides what comes into the blood or what goes into the toilet. That's the battleground. The number two way they talk is the brain goes down, obviously, down the spinal cord. The spinal cord releases these things called ganglia. And the superior mesenteric ganglion talks to the myenteric, which then talks to the gut. So your brain is hitting your gut physically via the nerves in two ways, via electrical communication in two ways, via the vagus nerve in the neck and the spinal cord all the way down. It's also hitting you on the picture on your left by chemicals, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So your brain, your thoughts are changing how your body works. So let's get in control of them. The number one thing, easiest thing you can do is I pulled up some research on L-theanine, which is an amino acid. It's an amino acid in green tea. And L-theanine blocks some of these receptors for your stress hormones. So you can actually use green tea in moderate levels to calm the body down during stress times. So I drink green tea, number one, because I love the flavor. Number two, it has tons of antioxidants. It has known anti-cancer properties, but now it's also being shown with L-theanine to have anti-stress properties. So green tea, drink it in your morning or your lunchtime routine and just sip on it. Obviously get an organic one that was farmed properly. And especially if you know like a lunch meeting is going to happen, or you're picking up your kids and it stresses you out, or if you know there's a stress time in your life, then green tea, that should be worked into your routine. I recommend you do not drink it after about 4 or 5 p.m. If you're sensitive to caffeine, make that time, that cutoff time even earlier, because there is caffeine in green tea. So you don't want to be drinking it right before you go to bed. But green tea is an action step you can take when your body releases those stress hormones. You can block some of the receptors. You can take up some of the seats on the bus with green tea, L-theanine, and it'll actually decrease the perceived stress response, the perceived stress response. The number two thing I want to talk about is the way to get your brain out of low energy emotional states, fear, worry, helplessness, anxiety, is to move your brain into high energy, resting, healing states of perception. And the number one is gratitude. So gratitude is the state of overwhelming gratitude will create an environment of healing in your body. And the way to get to gratitude is every single one of us has an overwhelming amount of amazing things in our life if you're looking for them. Even the most stressed out, the most bad situation on this entire webinar right now, you still have it better than most of the entire world. And so what gratitude exercises do is they call to mind the amazing things in your life right now that you're not even realizing are there. And they allow the brain to go into that thankful, loving, peaceful place. And what I'm going to have you do on here is actually train your brain to look for those things on a regular basis. So people who feel more gratitude are more likely to have higher levels of happiness, lower levels of depression, and less stress. Sounds good. It seems to have one of the strongest links with mental health. So here's my daily gratitude exercise is you're going to identify those things at the end of the day that went amazing for you, that you're grateful for, that you are just so appreciative of. And the way you do it is you're going to write down, physically write down. You can type, keep a list, or you can write it, but it has to be, you're calling it to mind and then writing it down. But you're going to do 3 things every single night before you go to bed. Now, the ultra basics of this would be, I'm thankful I didn't have to walk to the river and carry my own water home today. I'm thankful that I have clothes to wear. I'm thankful that I have a roof to live under. I'm thankful for my safety. These are super basics that almost everybody on the line has, but higher level things would be like, I'm so thankful for the way that somebody treated me today in the grocery line. You know, or I'm grateful for the moment I got to spend with my spouse, X, Y, and Z. So these can be moments during the day that you're grateful for. This can be an entire reflection on the day. Like, I'm grateful for the opportunities I had today, X, Y, and Z. But you're going to write these things down. You're going to do this every night before you go to bed. If you can find more than 3 things, then keep going. The more, the better. But the ultimate goal of this is to create a habit of summarizing and observing and recognizing gratitude in your daily life, the things that are just amazing in your life. And instead of your brain looking for the problems and looking for the issues that you can't fix, you start looking for the amazing gifts that are in your life, and you begin to appreciate those. And it will literally move your stress physiology in your brain into a rest, relax, digest state of physiology. You can actually get yourself out of a stress response by calling to mind gratitude. When we talk about problems in your life, there are 2 types of problems. There are problems that you are in control of, and there's ones that you're not. And it is a complete and utter waste of your energy to focus on anything that you're not in control of. So if you're planning on going on a bike ride and it's raining out and you get mad or you get stressed out, there is absolutely no reason to do that. You cannot control the weather. So the point of this is you can control how you respond. You can control the rain gear that you bought in preparation to go on a bike ride. You can set up a trainer system in the basement, and everyone in the family can ride together and work out that way. So there's ways to work around it. Problem solving, one of the things that fills us up with joy as human beings and makes us tick is finding solutions to problems. So number one, you have to look at a problem is an opportunity for you to solve it and derive joy from getting a solution. Number two is you have to identify problems as either being things you can fix or things that are out of your control. So what do you control ultimately? Yourself. And that's it. And so you have to direct your focus on solutions and resources when you're solving problems. So moving forward, looking at the situation you're in right now, there are some things you can control. You can control your own health. You can control your gratitude journal. You can control the narrative in your own household as far as what's going on. What are your choices? What are you eating for dinner? What are you doing with the free time you've been given? What are you doing with the extra work you've been given? Some of you guys are working more than ever now. But again, these are opportunities. Where's the opportunity to solve the problem and come out better on the other side? But working this into your psyche is super important. I mean, this will even trickle down into work relationships and relationships with children and spouses, is instead of bringing up problems, look for solutions. Look for solutions. So that's your problem solving. Now, when we move into stress, like I said, too much stress is a bad thing. Too little stress is a bad thing. Responding to stress and recovering is the way we were designed as human beings. So these are my stress reduction tips that can be done daily. And we're going to go into detail on these, but you can practice any form of meditation. Now, meditation doesn't have to be this long, drawn out sabbatical where you leave the country and you go into the mountains. And meditation is a form of focusing energy. And if you're not in control of where you're focusing your energy throughout the day, everyone else is taking it from you. So meditation, and I'll go through my short walking version of this, but if you're not doing anything at all right now, try sitting for 10 to 20 minutes in silence and focusing on either gratitude. You can call attention or focus to other parts of your body. You can follow your hands. You can send energy to your feet, to your stomach, to your heart, your lungs, your chest, your head. And just by channeling and focusing that energy into a pinpoint, you're bringing energy into your body instead of putting it outwards. That's the art of meditation. So combining meditation with movement, yoga, walking, Tai Chi are phenomenal. Some of you guys, before we had to socially isolate, could do these things in your neighborhood, or you go to classes. Now a lot of this stuff is being done online. Forgive yourself. Stress, a lot of our stress comes from having a mismatch between our blueprint for our lives, where we thought we would be and where we are now. And it ties in as well with expecting perfection. So a lot of you have to sit back and forgive yourself. You're not where you are now by random chance. You've done amazing things to get there. And you have to forgive yourself for the little things that went wrong along the way. You're not striving for perfection. You're striving for consistency. You're striving for showing up, and you're striving for excellence. But perfection is the killer of all dreams and action. If you're waiting for perfection, it's never going to happen. So forgive yourself. It's okay. And then get back in the ring and get at it again. And then the other thing I put on there, sing, laugh, dance, move, experience these ups and downs, the joys of life. It's meant to be a ride. It's not meant to be this singular walk down a perfectly straight path. So do some of the things that open you up and lighten you up, and you'll realize that they give you energy and reduce stress. Movement reduces stress. So here's the way to couple meditation with movement to decrease those stress hormones, calm down the vagus nerve, and focus your energy on your own body. So you do a 10-minute walk, or let's say you're on an hour-long walk. You take 10 minutes of the walk and you do this exercise. You're going to focus for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes, that's it. On how does your body feel walking? Where does the ground hit your foot? How does that force come up through your legs? Are your arms loose? Where's the tension in your shoulders? Are they back and relaxed? Are they forward and pulling you? And you just focus on how does your body feel while you're walking. This isn't judging your body and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so tight and stiff and my knee hurts. This is about focusing on how does it feel and just experience it. How does it feel breathing, the feeling of your breath for 2 minutes? Is it deep or is it shallow into your chest? Or are you going all the way down into the diaphragm? The sensations of wind on your skin or the air blowing on you. Is it cool? Is it warm? Is it fresh? What things can you hear when you just calm down the brain and listen for all the sounds that you've been tuning out? The birds, the squirrels, the cars, whatever it is that you hear. And then what are the things that you can see? And by just focusing intentionally, just like gratitude, you're training your brain to be able to use your energy for your benefit when you want to focus on something, instead of having this dissonant pulling Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, television, commercials, people crying and yelling and all this dissonance in your life. It allows you to train the brain to hone it in and focus. So this is the 10-minute walking meditation. Every one of you have 10 minutes today to do this. So leave your house. You don't have to have a stopwatch to do 2 minutes. Just do about 2 minutes. So get started on that one right away. One of the other ones that work with this meditation exercise is at night when you're laying in bed. The same way you spend about 2 minutes calling to mind energy to what's around you or what's going on in you. In bed, you would do it all on you. And you just close your eyes, you list your gratitude that you just wrote down, and then you focus on your legs, on your knees, on your hips, on your pelvis, on your stomach, and work your way up through the body, calming those areas down. And you'll notice it changes the energy, it changes the tone in the body. So you can never, ever change your outside environment 100%. You can't change what the government does right now. We're not up to a vote on this yet. You can't change the weather. You can't change how other people perceive and think about you. You can't change the person who's by you at work. But what you can change is stop looking for the problems and start looking for the solutions. What you can change is, instead of focusing all the things that are bad and stressful and wrong, start appreciating the gifts you have in your life and how everything is so amazing. And at least start adding that in at night. So, and then eventually this habit grows into a massive habit where you spend your day in gratitude, where you realize the red light you missed gave you the opportunity for something else. Like there's a positive with everything if you're looking for it. And then the biggest thing I can tell you guys and leave you guys with is focus on the things that are in control, solving those problems, but start working with the people you live with on this, and you will all benefit. The tide raises all ships. So as your energy changes, as your stress levels go down, we know your immune system goes up. I didn't go too deep into that today, but there's evidence that too much and too long of a stressor shuts down the immune system, where short-term stresses and recoveries raise it as well as maintain it. So your job is catch yourself going down, catch these old long habits you've had of picking out the bad stuff, and start bringing back in the good, even if it's for a few minutes a day, a 10-minute meditation walk, 10 minutes of laying in bed, doing gratitude every night. You will start to see this open up. You'll start to see this change the way you interact with people. And there's a trickle effect. This trickles down into everyone you come in contact with. When you make the choice to start adding this into your life, it becomes part of your entire system. And it becomes part of your defense mechanism to anything that comes at you in the world. You already are built up strong enough. You have your gratitude. You know you can solve problems, and you know that you can bring your body back out of that stress response, because I hate to say it, it's not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. What supplements can we take to help reduce stress? So what I would urge you to do is, before you turn to a supplement, even green tea, like I'm saying to drink green tea, before you go to a supplement, work in gratitude, and work in the problem-solving strategy. Fix the things that you can fix and stop worrying about the things that you can't fix. So start there. But then One of the best supplements, like let's say you're in a really stressful crunch time, 2 weeks, you got to have something done. There's really no additional time that you can take from anywhere. You're not sleeping enough. You're not working out enough. 5-HTP is a natural, it's a serotonin precursor. So serotonin is one of the hormones your body makes. 5-HTP is an inactive form. So your body, you take it, your body can cleave off the phosphate, activate it, and then help calm your body down. So short term, you could do 5-HTP supplement. We have a max living one that's called Sleep and Mood. And that's one of those that you might keep around for those times, but it's not something you need to stay on long term. Again, your body makes these things. So if you're in a long-term stress response and you're not sleeping well and you're anxious all the time, you've got to get to the cause of the problem. There's no way that you're just missing max sleep and mood. You're not deficient in the supplement. You're toxic with too much coming in and not enough defense mechanisms usually. And then next week, we're going through max fitness. We're going through how to maximize your fitness, lean body mass, and oxygen, and how to do it the right way. Again, too much will shut you down. Too little makes you weak. How do you do it the right way to maximize your immune function so that you're building your body up with exercise and not tearing yourself down? And then a lot of people are interested too in like, how do I lose weight? And using these strategies, you can lose 15 to 20 pounds in 30 days, especially if you couple that with some gratitude, with the nutrition that I talked about on the second webinar, the spinal exercises, getting adjusted. You start putting all this stuff together and it creates a whole healthy human being. Instead of covering up deficiency, toxicity, you're getting to the cause of the problem and fixing it.